Action. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. I've done 2 videos today and I don't like them. My glasses are bent. It's okay because I don't usually wear them. These aren't really my glasses, they're just reading glasses from the dollar store. My eyes, I'm getting old, I think. Maybe not, though. I was talking to this one buddy of mine, and he was mocking me because I said I'm getting old. So I'm 50, and oh, you're 50, oh my god. He's making fun of me. I said, okay, man, I guess I'm not old, I don't know. And I was like, but my mind always thinks I'm 25, bro. And he's like, yeah, so does mine. Until I get into bed, and then my body, then it's like, nope. And he's talking about referring to like when he has to fuck his wife and shit. Anyways, I don't know. So yeah, I tried to make a couple videos. I really would like to expand on the pink Carhartt clown pants. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of beating a dead horse, I think. There's people who understand what I'm saying when I'm in my last video about the pink Carhartt clown pants and and then there's people that they just don't. They don't understand. So, yeah. So, they understand that it could be a possible something, it could be in the future, like in 2049. But that it's happening now, well, it's like, whoa, bro. And it's like, yeah, okay. It isn't happening. No, not at all. I don't know. What do I know? I just live in a fucking trailer. I don't know. I'm just a fucking, garden variety fucking whatever, dude. I ain't nothing special. Even though I often think about myself, and I often think of myself as special. The thing about being special is, once you realize that everybody is, then it's not so special being special because everybody is, It's like, yeah, it's just whatever. Just part of life, Whatever. We all have whatever. Anyways, I just thought it was something I wanted to talk about, and I didn't give it a shot. It's in this book, the Book of Runes. It's a book of runes, and it's like based in Viking shit. And there was this poem in it, and I really liked it. And there was one of the lines in the poem it's an old Viking poem, and it says, "I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy. I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy." And I really like that. One of the things, that I like about it is that it implies introspection. What's outside of me is not really the enemy so much as me. My carelessness is my enemy. I make my carelessness my enemy. So if something outside of me happens to me, I'm looking at how did my carelessness put me in this situation? And there'll be times, the most perplexing and baffling times is when my carelessness did not put me in that situation. That's when it's most baffling. Because oftentimes I can trace some part of that to my carelessness. But not always. Because so often I can trace it back to some careless choice some carelessness on my part, which eventually led to that, contributing to this external thing that I could perceive as an enemy or whatever. Really, it was my carelessness. I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy. I really love that a lot. Introspection, that's what so much of the whole thing about know thy enemy, know thyself implies this. Like, what's going on with me? It's too easy to focus on the external and ignore the internal. It's far too easy. And it's far too easy to find fault in others, whereas it's much more difficult to find that fault within myself. This is why it's important to take care in judging others. Now, being of good judgment is different than being judgmental. Okay? So there's a difference. But I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy. Implies introspection. Carelessness. Where am I careless? Where am I practicing carelessness? And how is my carelessness causing external problems? Again, there are moments that are more rare. There are circumstances where I'll try to find how did my carelessness, contribute to this problem, and there is nothing. Those are the most challenging times. Is like when I can't figure out what the lesson I'm supposed to learn here is, because like I had absolutely no fault in any of this, and this situation just like exploded like a bomb in my face, and it had nothing to do with any mistake on my part, And so what am I supposed to learn in this situation? To, refine my because I'm a flawed person. I'm careless. I'll be careless in things like cigarettes. I'll just carelessly keep smoking. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just saying if it's true that cigarettes are bad for you and stuff, and then I'm being careless. It's hard to know for sure. Sometimes it's not always clear cut. It's not always hard and fast, black and white. A lot of times it's like, I don't know. But yeah, I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy. But yes, even despite that, there will be situations that arise where I'll look within to try to figure out, how did I cause this problem or contribute to causing this problem? And I'll come to find that I don't even have any part in this at all, and somehow I am suffering because of this external thing that I had nothing to do with, And everybody faces this, It might look this way for one individual and look completely different to another. The story of Job is actually a situation like that. And it really frustrates me that whenever the Bible is brought up, it's just for some reason like people get so triggered by the Bible. I don't understand that. It would be like if I brought up the book The Ugly Duckling, and people got really butthurt and like, You know how many millions of people died because of that book, The Ugly Duckling? Or whatever. But anyways, the book of Job, Job had all those terrible things happen to him. And then everybody judged Job and said, well, you must have brought that upon yourself because you did something that wasn't pleasing in the eyes of God, and so God's punishing you. And Job is like, he's already suffering. He's got fucking parasites have eaten half of his brain, and he's fucking paralyzed, and his fucking dick fell off and shit. And then all his friends are coming around shaking their head and wagging their finger at him like, Job, you really pissed God off this time, bro. I don't know why you did. And Job's like sitting there with parasites eating his brain, and his fucking parasites eating his balls, and his dick's falling off, and he can't move, and he's looking at him, and he's trying to comprehend with half of his brain, like, what are you, why you, and he's like, I didn't do nothing, man. I don't know why you blaming me, dude. And they're like, well, bro, you better get right with God, because it looks like God isn't very happy with you, bro. And Job's like, I didn't even do nothing. I don't know what you're talking about, man. He's like looking at him with one eye, because his other eye's all fucked up and shit. And he's fucking like, he's pissing out the hole where his penis used to be, and he's shitting his fucking pants and looking at him. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I didn't do anything. What is happening to me, bro? And they're just wagging their finger. Job, sinning isn't very good, Job. I hope you learned a lesson. Whatever sins you were doing that caused this suffering upon you, hopefully you learned your lesson and you won't sin anymore. May God be with you. And these are his friends, and then they're like, all right, Job, sorry, bro. Sorry you got those bad things happening to you. Maybe you had better learn a lesson from all this. See you later. And they just leave him to rot. And he's like, his one eye's like, what? Fucking Job, dude. The story of Job is such a good story. And it was like Job was even more righteous than all of his friends that were finger wagging and shit. Like, he was the most righteous person of his time. Like, God favored Job over everyone else because Job was chill. Job was he wasn't an asshole. He never fucked with anybody. He just tried to do the right thing. And then fucking, and so then the backstory to Job was that Satan went to God and said, dude, the only reason that Job is cool is because he knows that you favor him. He knows that he knows that you're not going to turn your back on him and abandon him. And that's the only reason that Job is cool. That's the only reason. Like, if Job didn't, if you didn't, show favor to Job, he would fucking turn on you and blah, blah, blah. And God's like, no, he wouldn't. And Satan's like, dude, I bet you he would. You let me go and interfere in Job's life, and watch, I'll prove it to you. If you let me interfere in Job's life and I fuck him up, he's going to blaspheme you, and he's going to fucking turn his back on you and talk shit about what a shitty person you are. And God's like, all right, okay, you're on. Let's check it out. Let's see what happens. Because I already know you're wrong, but go ahead. If you think that's the case, go ahead. See if you can do it. And then so Satan fucking gets the parasites to eat his brain, and his one eye's like, why is this happening? And the fucking his dick falls off, and he's fucking pissing out his asshole and all this shit. And then all his friends are like, Job, you must have done something naughty. God's punishing you for your sins, bro. And Job's like, I didn't do nothing, man. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Right? Anyways. Yeah. He didn't do shit, dude. And everybody said he did, though. Everybody was like, yep, Job fucked up, bro. Job got in trouble with the Lord. And so then the end of the story is Job persevered. And it is an interesting story because God actually comes to Job. Job's one of the few people that actually got to directly interact with God. And God was kind of, God was like telling Job like stuff, God was telling Job telling Job like, you don't know anything about the Leviathan, and there's all this shit, all this deep shit, there's all this fucking deep shit that you know nothing about, Job. What do you know about the Leviathan within the sea? What do you know about this? And Job's just like, I don't know, man. Why are you doing this to me? And God just keeps like really having a one-on-one with Job, and Job's just like, yeah, I don't know, man. And then after all of that, like this big massive trials and shit, then Job gets rewarded. So that was the bet that God made with Satan, that if Satan loses the bet, then Job gets rewarded like 100 times what he had originally. And because Job was already, he had it all going on, bro. Like he had like a great life. Everything was really wonderful and stuff, right? And so Satan lost the bet. And so when after all that shit Job went through, then his reward was he got like 100 times or something like that what he had. And so his life got like way boom, like just like, right? So maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I don't have the answers. But anyways, I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy. Even though there are Job moments in life, oftentimes my carelessness gets me into trouble. And it's easy to perceive that it's outside of me is what the problem is. But when my carelessness has to do with external fucking dilemmas and shit, that's me. That's, or I'm a part of it, It may not be 100% my fault. It may only be 20% my fault. But still, if I hadn't have contributed that 20%, I wouldn't even be in that mess. I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy.